You all have seen it, the community going crazy for almost all the species within the badge limited category. Arlenus, Corvirax and Mijusuima, namely, have been seeing an absurdly high rise in both value and demand all around. Whether it's in the Creatures of Sonaria Discord, the Creatures of Sonaria Wiki, or just generally inside the trade realm, players have offered thousands, and I mean thousands of mushrooms more than their initial values from only a week ago. So, what caused this spike in value? To tell you quite frankly, this trend was bound to happen sooner or later. With species such as Arlenus and Mijusuima flipping its value in such a short time, you may think that something had happened to the obtainability of these species. Well, yes, but not exactly how you would expect. Let me explain. The majority of species within Creatures of Sonaria typically follow an event rotation, like the Boreal Warden being obtainable during December in the winter event, or the Gara Warden being obtainable during October in the Halloween event, making these species obtainable at some point in the year and therefore lowering the value cap that these species can hold. And if not from event rotations, then basically all other species are permanent, aside from the badge-limited creatures. If we aren't considering the unconfirmed returns of species from one-time events such as Urzik and etc., but there's a whole other story for that. Badge-limited creatures have been confirmed to be no longer obtainable, so it is impossible for new instances of species such as Arlenus, Corvirax, Mijusuima and Kuruku to be introduced to the Creatures of Sonaria economy. By originally being obtainable for playing during alpha and beta development stages, or purchasing items in-game using Robux during these stages, players would be rewarded 4 different badges respective to each of these 4 species. The average value for badge-limited species from only a month ago are listed as 6,000 for Arlenus, 7,000 for Corvirax, 10,000 to 15,000 for Mijusuima, and 90,000 to 120,000 for Kuruku. Now completely and utterly outdated, the old values for this species can in no way, shape or form be compared to the outrageous new prices that these species presently sell for. Here's my theory on what is happening. If you've watched this previous video on a similar situation about Mijusuima's value spike, you would understand the general gist of how things are unfolding within the economy now. But to better explain the current situation in its entirety, and to continue off some assumptions that I briefly covered there, here is what I think is actually happening with these species. Whether this is due to numerous alternate accounts selling for inflated prices, or just an absurd rise in demand similar to the Urzik situation, who really knows what will happen in a month from now? Well, not exactly wrong. I personally believe that something similar in the scope of things is happening with the badge limiteds. It has been brought to my attention that cases of hoarding hundreds, even thousands of badge-limited species such as Mijusuima have been made evident amongst a couple of community members within the Creatures of Sonaria community. Assuming the Mijusuima hoards were accumulated when its value had cost a lot less, this explains the huge collections that certain players possess. Being a golden example that showcases the significance of this situation, I believe that the same thing is happening with Arlenus and potentially Corvirax, doubling or even tripling their initial values to the point they are now. Keeping this in mind, you may be wondering, so there's less badge-limited species on the market now, collecting that many Mijusuimas must have taken a lot of time, and so the value should have gone up gradually, but it didn't. So why the sudden value spike now? Referring back to the clips from the Mijusuima video, My best guess would be that some of the few players who have accumulated hordes of badge-limited species could have tried to inflate the prices of these creatures by making alternate accounts selling or buying these species for crazy high prices, resulting in an artificial inflation that is similar to Mijasuima's spike. And having had enough time already passed since Miju's situation, I am assuming that other players have followed in similar footsteps and started mass buying other badge limited, resulting in the high demand and therefore value rise. Being a speculation and all, this would be my best guess as to why the craze for badge limiteds is plaguing the Creatures of Sonaria economy. But there are most probably other reasons influencing this that I have missed, so feel free to leave your thoughts in the comments below. What do I do now? I'm going to be a bit repetitive about my suggestions, but if you have a badge-limited species at the moment, either Aolenus, Corvirax, or Mijasuima, which are rising the most, you should wait for the peak. The values of these three species are rapidly increasing due to a combination of its demand, instability, and the fact that it can no longer be obtainable outside of the trade realm. Try to trade or sell these badge limiteds right when you think the value might be on the edge of dropping to make yourself some profit. Karuku, on the other hand, is being caught in the mid-fire and being traded more often for the other three badge limiteds to the point it has lost value, so keep it if you have one. Karuku will stabilize eventually, and it most likely won't be too far off from the current value of 90,000 to 120,000 mushrooms. I would say it's better to be safe than sorry. If you don't have a badge-limited species, then look for a cheap Aolenus, Corvirax, or Mijasuima now. The value for these three species will only increase as time goes on, similar to how Miju's value grew and only dropped temporarily. This is also one of the rare times that Karuku's value has ever become unstable, being a good opportunity for you to take advantage of. Getting one for cheaper than usual has never been easier, especially if you own other badge-limited species that you're willing to trade for a Karuku. Or if you're watching from the sidelines, just be a passive observer. If you want to see how things turn out and aren't desperately after anything, then wait until the value stabilizes so you can ensure that you aren't overpaying. All of this is purely speculative, and up to you to decide if it's right to follow. These suggestions are merely based on my own observations around the community so far, so take my words with a grain of salt. And there you have it. What do you think about this whole situation? Got any ideas or theories that I might have missed out in this video? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I hope you all enjoy the rest of your day. Sidelines out.